Okay, the interviewing do's and don'ts. Before you go out and do interviews around the school, you need to know what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. Those of you who are virtual, you may be able to do interviews through Google Meets and be able to record those, or you might not choose to do an interview for your project. But again, still want you to watch this even if you are remaining virtual. All right, when you go out and do your interviews, you have to mask up. Noses are covered. Notice here, the person doing the interview, their mask is on properly, along with everybody being interviewed. That means cover your nose. Don't be interviewing somebody who is not wearing their mask properly, because these videos that we make, they go out there onto the school news. Parents see it, administrators see it, teachers see it. We need to be showing that we are following the rules and procedures. So don't be wearing your mask incorrectly when doing the interviews. Okay, when you are interviewing students or teachers and staff, collect information you need to get from them. And that would be, if it's a student, you need to get their name and grade. If it is a teacher or staff, you need to get their name, grade, or subject they teach. Or if they happen to be a school secretary or work in the office or a guidance counselor, get that information too. When you go to edit, you need to put that information in your edit. So you'll be using text features just like this student did here. This is done exactly the way that you should be doing. It's following the proper protocol for interviewing. So always make sure you collect that info when you do your interviews so that you can put them in later. When you are interviewing, only one person's hand is going to be on the microphone. Again, that's just due to, sanitizing COVID and everything. You speak into it when you ask your questions, then point the microphone at the person who's speaking when being interviewed. So the mic goes back and forth, but it remains in one person's hand, and that is your hand. It is also very important that when you are asking the question to whoever you are interviewing, you are speaking into the microphone. So when you're asking the question, you need to have the microphone up to yourself. Otherwise, if you're doing this and you're holding the microphone at the person that you're speaking to and you're asking the question, your voice is getting lost, as you just heard what happened to mine. Okay, also very, very important, when you are out interviewing, filming, or doing whatever and using the school equipment, be back 10 minutes before class is over. So keep an eye on the time. This will give you enough time to come back and import the footage, especially if you're new to doing that and you're stumbling through a little bit. Also gives you plenty of time to clean and return the equipment, sanitize where you were sitting, and pack up. Keep in mind, I will not write you late passes just because you got held behind a little bit. That's why I give you 10 minutes to wrap things up. All right, so in your interviews, if you are asking the same question to different people, when you go to edit this, edit that part out. What I mean by that is your video does not need to have you asking the same question 5 or 6 times, depending on how many people you interviewed. When you're filming, you're going to be obviously asking that person being interviewed your question so they know what it is, but you as the editor will edit that part out in post-production. Post-production means after you've already filmed it and while you're editing that. All right, music. As you know, music drives your video. Pick a good song for that. When you have a song in there, you need to do volume adjustments. Down here, this is an example of volume adjustments. As I have said before, music drives your video. So here's a great example of how music is effectively used and the volume is adjusted so it's not too distracting. You want your volume of your music track to be very low so that you can most hear your interviews. This is as low as 12%. Now, if you go to a part of your video where you don't have an interview, maybe you have this in between clip, you can go through and jump your audio up, and then throughout that little transition, that text effect, then you have it go to a solid percent and then back down. This is what it looks like.
To stay positive.
Your music's getting louder now, and it stays louder, and then it falls back down. Again, this is when you are editing. In between your clips, it's a nice idea to state the question or even different topics, or if you break this up into people who you're interviewing and you interview them, by grades, however you want to organize that. This here is an example on screen of some text titles that come in before the video clip. So do that while you are editing. So now we're going to go over the video don'ts. Don't do this stuff. It's going to get you in trouble. Trust me. All right, pretty obvious here. Okay, don't be goofing off or getting people in your video who are goofing off. A lot of these people who you might be pulling into your project might be thinking, oh, this is a great time to, goof off. No, we're not going to do that. Now, I want you to use your best judgment when you're filming. If people start to seem to be, breaking the digital media rules, they don't know the digital media rules because they may not have me for class. So if that's starting to happen, say, hey, you know what? I got to get back to class, or we're done. I'm going to interview somebody else. You use your best judgment. It's up to you. You're the one responsible for the equipment. The fact that you're out there with the media passes, you're representing me when you're out there filming. Don't disturb other classes. There are classes going on. You need to be respectful for that. When you are out filming, remember, you are representing digital media class and myself. Do not make teachers mad or annoy them. They will be upset with me, rightfully so. I wouldn't appreciate it if other teachers sent students into my class and were pulling my students and disrupting just the flow and the routine of class. So again, please be respectful to the other classes and what they are doing. Just because you have a media pass on doesn't give you the right to just barge on in and be rude and disrespectful. And in the past, I have gotten emails from teachers, phone calls from teachers, and I do not appreciate that at all. So again, when you are out there, remember to be the most respectful. When you are going to film and you're asking a teacher if you can film during their class time, ask politely and professionally if you can film teachers and students during that class period. You use your best judgment on who to visit. If it is not a good time and they happen to say no, then politely say, okay, thank you, and respectfully leave. Do not be pushy or beg them to be filming their classes. If they seem irritated at all, again, just use your best judgment to just go away and try something else, or even come back to the media center and get some students that are in our digital media classes. Do not take advantage. Interviewing and filming outside of the media center is a privilege. If you take advantage of that privilege, you will lose that privilege. And remember, I always find out what is going on around the school. No matter what, I always hear about it, whether another teacher tells me, another student tells me. I find out every single time. I always know. So don't put the person on the spot when you're asking them a question. Give the person you're interviewing an idea ahead of time of what you are going to ask. Again, don't just put them on the spot. When you go to interview somebody, start by saying, I'm going to ask you. And then once they believe they have an answer, then go ahead and film. This keeps you from wasting time. If you stand there and you just ask that person a question right there on the spot, they're like, I don't know. And then they stutter or laugh, whatever. And then again, that's wasting time. You have to refilm that take a couple times. Again, make good use of your time when you're doing this. Don't make a video full of bloopers. That's not the point of your video. A blooper is a true mistake that happens to be funny. It's not a bunch of pointless random clips of goofing around. That's not what your video is to be about. It is a true mess up. Okay, also, don't be asking generic questions. Don't be basic, guys. Here's what I mean by that. Okay, you might be asking somebody a question like, what's your favorite movie? Don't just say why then. Instead of asking why, ask maybe, okay, what's your favorite scene from that movie or your favorite quote from that movie? Let them get specific, because if you say why, they're going to say, because it's funny. And they're going to say something plain and generic and basic. And again, it doesn't really make for a good quality interview. It makes for a pretty boring interview, and you don't want that. You want quality in your videos. And you are the one who drives the interview with the quality of questions that you ask. Okay, now in the past, I have heard students go up to other students and say, who's your favorite teacher? And I know that might seem like a great question and everything, but I don't want that kind of question to ask, because I don't want to make anyone feel bad. Also, don't ask a teacher, who's your favorite student? Again, that kind of thing makes people feel bad. Keep any negativity away. Keep everything positive and professional. Positive and professional vibes only. Okay, now question time. Do you think that you can be the filmer and the person doing the interview? Yes, you can, and here's how. So it's as simple as this. The screen on the camera flips. So all you have to do is mount it to a tripod, flip the screen, hit record. That's all. Then when you go to edit, just cut out those in-between parts, right after you hit that record button where you're walking over to interview, and that's it. When you have the screen flipped, you can see yourself because it's mounted on the tripod, it's stable. That's all it takes. So literally all you need to interview is a camera, a tripod, a microphone, and yourself. Oh, and you might also need all of those interview rules that you just watched. Have fun with your interviews and make your videos fun to watch.